I have the what's up, everybody. Hey everybody, what's up? Trey Griggs here with Beta Consulting Group, and it is Finish Strong Friday, everybody. So whatever you're doing today, make sure you get after it today. The weekend's going to be that much better if you give it everything you got today. So make sure that you finish strong on Friday. Man, I'm out of breath. I need to get in better shape. Just running around the room like that, I got to work on that. So my intro might be kind of weird, but that's okay. So we've got episode 112 today of Standing Out, a daily podcast about sales, marketing, and leadership, powered by Beta Consulting Group. And we'd love for you to check out what we're doing. Go to betaconsultinggroup.com and see how we're helping companies with their strategies, with their branding, their messaging, their content creation, telling those stories so people know who they are and what they do. We're all about that. We'd love to work with you. So check it out, fill out a form, and we'll be able to reach out to you and get started with you soon. It's going to be great. Also, while you're there, you might as well pick up some swag. Be a part of our community. We've got some cool stuff, including those hashtag t-shirts. We got a Finish Strong Friday shirt there. We've got coffee mugs, water bottles, t-shirts, hats, all kinds of great stuff. We'd love for you to be a part of our community of people who are pursuing excellence every day. So check it out. And while you're there, use coupon code BETA-GO to get 30% off your entire order in the month of August. We'd love for you to be a part of what we're doing and take a little money off of that. So use that coupon code, pick up some swag, and be a part of our community. Also want to give a shout out to our sponsor, to TAFS. These are the good guys in freight factoring. They're helping companies, carriers and owner operators keep those wheels turning with discounts on fuel, tires, insurance discounts, bringing together a community of resources so the drivers have everything they need to keep those wheels turning. Cash flow through factoring, all kinds of good stuff. So if you're an owner operator or a carrier, and first of all, if you're behind the wheel of a truck, thank you for what you do. But definitely check them out at tafs.com, or you can click on the link that Morgan's going to put in the comments today to go directly to my landing page so they know that I sent you. And if you're a freight broker, you can become a referral partner and make sure that your carriers have all the resources they need. Keep those wheels moving, keep our economy moving. We appreciate what you guys do out there. All right, so we've had a great week of shows this week, had some awesome conversations on Monday and Tuesday. On Wednesday, my good friend Chris Horton hosted the show for us with DJ Flores. Yesterday, my good friend Matthew Leffler hosted the show for me with my good friend Matt Gore. Awesome interviews. Check those out on demand right here on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook. And today's guest, I'm so excited to bring on. I've been following her for a long time and seeing what she's been doing in the industry. She's an influencer. She's a business owner. She's awesome. And I can't wait to talk to her. So let's just bring her onto the show. Everybody give it up for my good friend, Shay Lynn Dixon. Shay, what's up? How are you?
Good morning. I am doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to have you on the show. I've been watching you from a distance for a long time. I know that kind of may sound weird, but I've seen interviews that you've had, and I've watched you on social and what you're doing at scale, and just so impressed with you, and just very excited to get a chance to talk to you. For everybody who may not know who you are, what you do, tell us a little bit about yourself and about Scale Logistics.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Shay Lynn Dixon. As Trey said, I am the CEO and co-founder of Scale Logistics. We're a premier third-party logistics provider here in South Metro Atlanta. We mostly specialize in aviation and aerospace logistics. So whenever those airplanes or AOGs are on ground, we're getting expedited parts pretty much in all 48 states. We also now offer drayage and intermodal services to service Savannah and Charleston Port. So we have a team of about 11, and we're just working really hard, just trying to keep carriers happy, advocate for our carriers, and also make sure that we're educating carriers and helping them build solid relationships with shippers, long-term opportunities. So it's been awesome. We've really found our place, and it feels good. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, you definitely have. No, I've definitely been watching and seeing you grow and what you've been doing, watching the interviews that you've had on there. And I can't remember when we first connected. I think it was just on LinkedIn. I mean, it's the power of LinkedIn, because we've never had a chance to meet in person, but obviously we've been in kind of the same circles for a long time, and it's been neat to watch your company grow. How did you get into logistics? What's your story?
So really what started me in logistics is I needed a job, and I got a job. I was working in a manufacturing plant. They actually made polyethylene foam inserts, which were like the gun inserts for that most guns are put in, but also other small products. And I did mostly LTL, small parcels, UPS, FedEx, and it was a mom and pop, organization. They were very much like, listen, this is what we're going to do. We're going to handwrite all of this stuff. And we've been doing it. And John has been doing that for the last 20 years. And we're going to keep doing that. I'm like, can we get a computer? It was like an upgrade when I could print out the BOLs like on a typewriter. Like,
wow, that's a throwback. When was this? What year was this happening?
So this is happening in between 2006 and 2008. So I graduated high school in 2006, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And, I was just like, when I go to college, I'm going to get a job, because I always wanted to have a career, but I also enjoyed shopping and doing things with my friends. And my parents were very affluent. They were, in a good position comfortably, but they also wanted me to understand work ethic and be able to provide for myself. And I think that's what kind of drew me to this industry, because I realized right away, there's a lot of money that goes through this industry. And if I could just get a small part of it and maximize it and capitalize on it and learn it, then I definitely can have success. And I started off, in the warehouse, like literally as a shipping and receiving clerk. Like I was in the office. I grew into an office role. But, at first I'm doing all the grunt work, right? Packaging boxes, putting labels on things, tracking stuff. I'm using like filing cabinets to store paperwork. It was a learning experience, but it gave me my foundation. So now I appreciate technology so much, because it's but I learned from someone who is a small business owner and also a family man. And Alan, that was his name. He's no longer living, but he was very old school. He was very specific in the way he chose to do business. So a lot of my business acumen and the way that I handle people, I learned from him and how he operated. He was very stern and he didn't really take much from people, but he was about his word. And so if he gave his word, he stuck to it. And that's really what I built my brand on. And I've found a lot of success in that. And that was kind of my start. Once I had a taste of it, I'm like, okay, I could go along with this. I could keep going into this. And I worked a series of different jobs, working for UNFI, doing their LTL. I worked for another cold chain brokerage. So my corporate experience has always been in supply chain or in finance, and learning both the financial sector and as well as, logistics from a corporate standpoint. That really helped me when I started my business. I never knew why I worked these different types of jobs, but it was preparing me for being a CEO, and I didn't know it at all.
Yeah, no, that's an incredible story, and so impressed that you had vision so early. Like I wish I could go back and tell my 22-year-old self a little bit more about vision and about what's out there and what to do. But for you to have that vision early, kudos to your parents for how they raised you and the work ethic they gave you, and for you for capitalizing on that, seeing a vision and then playing it out. And I think you're right. Like every experience that we have is, whether we know it or not, it's preparing us for the next one. I mean, we're the sum of everything that's happened in our life to this point. And it's pretty neat to hear your story in that regard. When did you kind of realize, I think I want to run a company, as opposed to just maybe work for a company like you've been doing?
So when I left my last brokerage, I had a non-compete, of course, so I couldn't jump into the industry. So I did a lot of outside consulting for other transportation companies, other logistics companies that were kind of just like, Shay, we need help. People don't know about us. I did a little bit of PR. I kind of did branding. I did social media. I did a little bit of everything just to see, how I could help, right? I had this knowledge and these things that came very naturally to me, right? So I was like, well, I could help other small business owners if I don't want to have my own business. So from the very beginning, I told my husband I did not want to have my own business. I did not. I don't want to work for someone else, but I didn't want to be the person in charge of running the business. I just wanted to help other small businesses. So a consultant.
Did you use the word never when you said that? That's the problem. You shouldn't do that. You can't do that.
My words exactly were, when I left, I said, I will never go and work back in logistics again. I'm just going to be an outside consultant for other people. And that was what I said. So one of my consulting clients, they were like, the pandemic hit and everything came to a halt for them because they had a transportation company that mostly served airports and young people, right?
Yeah.
School charters. So we partnered with them and started a brokerage. And after a couple years, we decided to go, different directions, which is how Scale was formed. My husband and I were like, well, cool. We've been doing this for 2 years. Let's just do our own. And that was actually March of this year, March 11th, our authority went active.
Really?
And
That
I've
quick?
done more.
I knew it was new, but I did not know it was that new. Wow. That's
Well,
great.
I always position myself as I'm not new to the industry. My business
Yeah.
model maybe, but I'm a business professional. And I told my husband, I'm like, we've done more volume in the last 5 months of our new brokerage than we did in a year in our first brokerage. And it's all because of branding and marketing and positioning our business.
Yeah, that is so awesome to hear. I mean, and kudos to you. That's amazing. What a great story. And when you say never, the universe has a way of saying, "Really? You sure about that?" I've done that a few times myself, and it's usually not worked out well in that regard. So, no, that's really cool. And I want to touch on what you just said. The value of branding and marketing, especially as a new company, but especially within transportation. I think that you would agree. A lot of companies in transportation really struggle in this area of marketing and branding and really creating that name, that reputation, that digital reputation for themselves. Why was that such a critical aspect or a non-negotiable for you here starting Scale?
So what I realized early on when I had my first freight brokerage is that the more I branded myself, the better opportunities the business received. And once I
Wait.
realized that,
Say that again.
the better that I personally branded myself as a professional, the better my business did because people trusted me, Shay, as the leader of this business. So they know if it's purity at the top, right? Or good intentions, or as we say, excellence, then they know the rest of my team is going to operate in that fashion because I'm holding them to that standard. And that's my promise to my customers. I'm not always going to deliver on time. I'm not always going to be the cheapest option, but I will operate in excellence and I will do everything that I say that I'm going to do. And that's my promise. And I hold that promise even when it hurts. Even
Yeah.
when it hurts. But
I,
that's yeah.
I love that. I think what you said just really matters, that, when they can trust you at the top, they can trust the company and the better opportunities. Like, that's the thing, like you get better opportunities. You get the right people who are attracted to who you are and your values and who align with that, which are the types of customers you want to work with. You don't want to work with customers that have different values because it usually doesn't work out well. But if you have customers that have like values or like-minded, are pursuing excellence, who understand value and quality, I mean, those are the kind of clients that you want. These are the things, the intangibles that don't show up on a P&L that companies miss out on when CEOs or somebody in the company doesn't brand the company and really build that personal brand. I love what you're saying. I believe it 100%. And I'm so excited to see you continue to do that. What are some of the things that you're doing to build that personal brand and the company brand at the same time?
Yes. So, interviews like this. So, coming on, telling my story, sharing who I am and what I'm about. A lot of times I get business because people resonate with something that I said personally, whether it's in a post or whether it's my positioning on something. And I tell all the time, I have mentees or even my own agents, and they're like, I'm afraid to, what if they don't like it? I'm like, listen, you can't control that. What you can do
Right.
is show up authentically and talk about you are the content. So when people say, I don't have anything to post, I'm like, how? What did you do today? Talk about something that happened today. I watched Trey literally run around a ballroom. Let me tell you, to other people that may seem crazy, but to me, I totally understand it, right?
It's on brand. It's on brand.
It's on brand. It's you. It's you. And honestly, my mentees, people that are my consulting clients, my audience, they know I'm not going to be available during certain hours. I have very strict boundaries. I'm going to go above and beyond for you, but I'm going to take a vacation and I'm not going to be available during vacation. And they know what to expect from me as a person. And because they like me, they will spend money with me. They will give opportunities. When opportunities come available, customers that other people have been pitching for a while, they'll reach out to me because they'll be like, hey, I've been following you on LinkedIn for 2 years. You never once said, what freight do you have for me? I'm sharing articles about their company. I'm like, look what I found online about your company. This is awesome. 2 things. Now that person can reshare it. I've just helped them source content. And I'm not being salesy. I genuinely care about your business and I want you to care about mine. And so it helps weed out the, prospects that I don't want to deal with. I'm very particular about who we bring on as customers. And my brand says that. So when people see it, they're like, oh, she might not be a good fit for us. You're right. I'm probably not. I'm probably not. So
No, that is so valuable, and I love the fact that you're providing content for your prospects and for your clients, and doing it without an ask. I think that a lot of times salespeople, they get too quick to ask. I once heard that you always need to connect before you collect. That you really need to connect with people before you collect, and I think there's a lot to be said about that. I want to talk about that more in just a minute, but I want to go back and ask you a quick question about your content journey. Do you remember some of the first content that you put out? Like, what are some of the things that you did at the beginning?
in the beginning, I wasn't sure. So I literally searched like 10 quotes on Canva, 10 quotes online about entrepreneurship. And I just plugged them in Canva. And then I picked 10 pictures and I was like, okay, I see other people in the space talking about logistics, but I want people to get to know me as a person. I can post logistics all day on my Scale Logistics page, but on Shay Lynn Dixon's LinkedIn, I want you to know the person behind. So I tried to tell a lot of stories and share what was going on. One thing that I noticed really received the most feedback when I first started, that I started doing more, is sharing my losses and the challenges, because we try to present ourselves in such a fluffy way all the time that it doesn't always come off as transparent. And shippers want to know, when you have a bad situation, are you going to run or are you going to handle it? And I tell them, look, I grew up in a traumatic way. I had a horrible upbringing before I was adopted, but it built a certain grit inside of me. I don't run from problems. I handle them straight on, and I'm your solution. Right. And they're like,
Yeah.
okay, all right, let's go. So that helped me in the beginning.
I love that, telling your stories of your losses, because that's what people can resonate with. And it's when you learn the most anyways. So you're going to learn lessons from that you're not going to learn if you're just posting your successes. I really like that strategy, and it's an easy one. Getting the quotes is a great strategy for anybody who's thinking about their content journey. That's a great strategy as well. Finding great articles is a strategy. For me, the way my content journey started, especially on LinkedIn, is I'm a teacher, educator, pastor. That's what I did in my previous life. I taught physics and all that. And so education and like helping people grow, helping people learn is really important to me. So if I learned something, whether it was through a book or through a life experience or from a mentor, I just felt like if this is valuable for me, it's probably going to be valuable for somebody else as well. And what I did was I just turned the camera on. I just turned the camera on and started talking about what I learned. It wasn't always perfect. I try to do it in one take because that's authentic. When you try to keep doing the takes, it doesn't always work out well. That's why I like to go live, because this is authentic, it's real. And so, I just turned the camera on and I just started telling people what I learned, and that started to resonate as well. So there's several ways that people can start their journey. Here's a couple of tips we've given today. Hopefully that helps people start their journey. I wish more people would do this. We don't have enough voices in transportation like yours, like Matthew Leffler and Chris Jolly and all these people. We don't have enough voices. We need more people to share their stories, and nobody can share your story like you can. And everybody has a story. So I'm pushing that like crazy. I hope people will be inspired to do that just by hearing from you today.
You know who really inspired me to tell my story? Actually, it was two people. Blythe. She had me on an episode of Cyberly, but even before that, she was like, tell your story, get out there. And, she was very pushed me, because it is intimidating. And I tell people all the time, I am sometimes creating content. I'm like, oh, do I want to share this? It's, we still go through those moments where I'm developing daily in sales, marketing, and in leadership, right? Those are the three main areas that I constantly work on as a CEO. And so sometimes it is scary to put yourself out there, right? And talk about those things, but the reward is so great, and it builds a camaraderie with your prospect. So when you start doing business with them, they're like, I don't even have to be like, we're 3PL. They already are like, Shay, They're like, right. how's your dad doing? Was your dad in the military or what? And I'm like, no, my dad was a Latin teacher. And they're like, well, I saw you put Semper Fi. I'm like, well, he has, so the conversation is different. It's not, transactional. It's more of a relationship. And that was the hardest thing for me to learn about LinkedIn. I came from a corporate background where everything was very transactional. I do this, it's done. I do this, it's done. So cultivating relationships is the opposite in logistics.
Yeah.
It's seed, plant, touch, seed, plant, touch, water a little bit, seed, plant, touch, water a little bit again, it's a process.
Yeah, no, it's 100%. And I'm so excited that you mentioned Blythe. She was actually the first guest on our show,
I
because
love it.
like Blythe is like all things marketing. She's so smart, and I was like, you should kick this show off with me. And she was so kind and generous to do that. And I'm not surprised she said that. She's just great about that. Who was the other person? You mentioned more than one person. Who was the other person?
Yes. So there is another person. So Kevin, actually, from Freight Waves.
Kevin Hill.
Yes,
Yeah.
he actually had me on his show, and I was like, Kevin, this is huge. Like, for someone who is newer in the industry, who watches Freight Waves, who watches their show, he was so supportive in the beginning and gave me resources, with his products and services, and it really helped me. And then he was like, hey, once I was opened up to his audience, it opened up a lot of other speaking opportunities for me. And so I remember those things, right? They're very small. It might just be one word. I told a shipper, I inboxed her one day, and she had wrote a post about how she was having a hard time and, turnover and all that. And I just inboxed her and I was like, I know things are hard right now, but they'll get better. I hope you have an awesome day. And there was there was no intent behind it. I really was like,
ask.
I hope you have a great day.
Right. No ask.
2 months later, she
genuinely care.
Yeah, genuinely care.
Yeah.
2 months later, she gave me one of the biggest opportunities I've had to date out of the port. And she told me, she was like, that meant so much to me. She was like, I never get that. People don't ask how I'm doing. They don't show any sign of sincerity. It's all transactional.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, well, I'm glad that it inspired you, right? Because people do that for me. So I've really focused on just adding value and just being making sure that when I leave from around people, they're like, wow, thank you, right? They feel that. I want them to feel that every time, they interact with me. And that's a part of my branding, right?
It reminds me of what Gary Vaynerchuk says, the kindness and empathy are superpowers. And people oftentimes don't realize that when you genuinely care about people, when you're empathetic, you put yourselves in their shoes and try to understand where they're at. When you're kind to them, those are business qualities that I think get lost in the transactional mindset. When you think about that. And I love that you did that, because I guarantee that you were not doing that hoping she'd give you an opportunity. I mean, you kind of you always want to have opportunities, but that wasn't your motive. And it's like a nice bonus. This is great. And these are the intangibles that don't show up on a P&L. These are the things that matter when you reach out to somebody and do that. I'm here at a conference, and one of the speakers was a guy named Randy Fox, and he was talking about silver platter service, that you can check the box, but the question is not, did you check the box, but how did you check the box? How did you do it? How did you interact with that person? Did you make their day? Did you make it a good experience? Those types of things. Those things matter. I love the fact that you did that, and I'm not surprised to hear you did that, but that's such a cool story. And it didn't take, it take you 30 seconds out of your day to say, I'm gonna send a quick message.
And what's crazy? I send voice memos to people on LinkedIn. I normally send voice or video, because I notice that people like to hear my voice, or they want to engage with me or see who they're talking to. And then they remember me, right? And I want them to see my face 7 to 10 times, right? Remember my face, so that when the last conference I went to, someone came up to me, they're like, oh my gosh, Shay Lynn, I recognize you from LinkedIn. I'm like, awesome.
It's working.
I'm like, yes, I did a great job. And I connect with people that I know are going to be at the event before the event, and start engaging with them. Once I purchase tickets to an event, I'm engaging with people that I know are going to be at the event. So when I'm there, we can have meaningful conversation. It's not your first time meeting me. Right? You've met me online, so you know a little bit about me. Now let me show you that I'm actually the same person in real life, and this is how I operate. Let's go. And there's a level of trust that's established. So it's awesome.
That's the key word. And, I love that you're talking about all this. And the cool part is, none of that costs you anything, just a little time. That's the power of social media and LinkedIn. It is such a powerful tool, and it just takes making that a part of your DNA, waking up and making that a part of how you go about your business, that you spend time on LinkedIn, you spend time engaging. When you do that, you get all these side benefits that you've experienced, and it's just awesome. I just absolutely love to see that. All right. Yeah, go ahead. Please. Please.
And
what do you
it's
got?
my daily sheet that I give to my team. I'm like, do these things every day on LinkedIn. And it tells them exactly, and they can check off, inbox somebody you've never spoken to, introduce yourself, and it gets them out their comfort zone, because that's really what it's about, getting out of your comfort zone.
That's awesome. Would you be willing to share that with our audience?
Sure, I
You should
would.
send that over. We'll put that in the show notes so everybody can have access to that, just as a quick, little social media hack on how
Yes.
to, how to do that, because I think it's important. It needs to become a part of the DNA of your day, of what you're doing, because that's where people are living, and that's such an easy way to connect in meaningful ways, like really good meaning. Like I can't tell you how many people I've met on social media that are good friends of mine. I still haven't met him in person. Nick Roomer over in Scotland. If
Me
something goes
too.
wrong in my
Yeah,
day,
my buddy.
Nick's awesome. If something goes wrong with my day, he's one of the guys I'm calling. And I've never seen him in person, but we have a genuine relationship. He tells me what's happening with Eli's son and all the things that are going on with their family. And we're planning vacations together at some point. I mean, it's crazy, but it's real, and that's the power of LinkedIn, is you can start to generate these authentic, real relationships that are just beneficial in life, but also in business. It's a win-win. People should make that priority one, to start doing those things that are on your checklist that we're going to share with them, which is absolutely awesome. All right, Shay, what's next for Scale? Where are you guys headed? What's the vision? What's the goal?
We actually are going to launch Scale Academy. So I have mentored and helped so many people establish their freight brokerage. And one of the common things that they come to me is that they've taken a course and they still don't know what to do. So I am building out Scale Academy, which is what we train our in-house freight agents on, just so we can meet the demand. We have a lot of customer demand. So I want to bring more agents in and kind of give them an opportunity so that they can make sure that they're fully equipped to operate in the space and do it with excellence. So that's what's next, and I'm excited for it.
I love that. When do you think you'll launch that? Like, is there a date? I know is it in infancy, or is it?
I'm hoping that by next quarter we'll have something launched. I'm a strong, I really believe to take your time and, put value in it. And I'm actually testing it out on my current agent. So they're going through my beta course, and we've had good success so far with them. So I'm tweaking it and adding different visualizations. So it will appeal to someone as young as 18, but also someone who's 50 years old that's just gotten out of the truck that wants to become a freight broker. They can receive the information in a way that's easily digestible. So I'm looking.
I don't think you're going to have any trouble appealing to people of all ages. That's it.
I appreciate that. I'm looking forward to it.
And training is one of those issues which we don't have time to talk about. We're getting close to the end here. We don't, not too much. We'll talk about on another episode. We'll get you back on here. But training is one of those issues that we really struggle with in transportation. We usually just put somebody next to somebody and just say, watch and figure it out. And I remember my first job in transportation, in sales, I didn't make a phone call. I wasn't on with a prospect for 5 weeks. They invested 5 weeks in training to make sure I understood the CRM and the process and the rules of engagement and the script and the pitch and everything. Like, they just made sure I knew it. And I didn't realize how valuable that was at the time, but looking back, so valuable to do that. They said, you know what, we're going to pay you for 5 weeks and we're not going to get anything out of it. And then you're going to ramp up for another 3 to 5 weeks. So we're going to pay you for 10 weeks and we're really not going to get anything out of it at the front, because they knew if they did it right, they'd get it, out on the back. And so I thought that was really, really wise to do that. So I'm excited you're doing this, because it's so needed in our industry. Like you said, there's all these courses out there where people take a weekend course and then they go, okay, I don't know what to do.
What's next?
Yeah, what's next? I don't know what to do. So that's awesome. Shay, thank you so much for being on the show today. It has just been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. And I hope you'll come back and see us soon.
I certainly will. Thank you so much. And I look forward to being on again.
That's awesome. And everybody else who's out there, remember, it's Finish Strong Friday, which means that at noon Central, in just an hour, we're going to have Word on the Street. So make sure you come back right here to check that out. We're going to have a great show today with Adam Sapinski talking about trucking insurance and other things in the industry. It's going to be awesome. And make sure you come back on Monday for episode 113 of Standing Out. We're going to have Eric Kruger, who's the Chief Revenue Officer at Navix. He's going to be on the show as well. We're going to have a great conversation then. And everybody else, have a fabulous weekend. We'll see you right back here on Monday for another episode of Standing Out, daily podcast about sales, marketing, and leadership, powered by Beta Consulting Group. We'll see you guys later. Have a great weekend.